Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everybody, and welcome to R.J. Daniels back in the house here in Rockville Center for Islanders versus Rangers. Puck drop just an hour away. I want to thank you all for coming down to RJD and also hanging out with us on twitch.tv/Hockey Night NY. We're raising money for Companions in Courage. That's Pat LaFontaine's fundraising charity. Great stuff there. We got some prizes. We got a 4K 50-inch TV that we're going to be raffling away. We got a 50-50. We got gift cards. Got plenty of stuff. We got some great swag. So definitely get involved in the 50-50. Going to be a great time tonight. I want to remind everybody that we are proud to be sponsored by R.J. Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 2798 Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. It's the best place to catch the Isles when you can't be at the game. Head on down for great food and drink specials, plenty of HDTVs, and in-game sound. Also sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip, and UBS Arena at Belmont. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for all their great offerings. Also happy to be sponsored by Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the personal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Ty Technology a call at 516-856-7800 for 3 free months of service. And of course, happy to be sponsored by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, creator of the Barn Rocker Session Ale, available at 12 locations at the Islanders' brand new home in UBS Arena, and even more distributors across the country from coast to coast. You can also visit the tap room at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay 7 days a week to sample all their fantastic beverages. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Christian Arnold. And joining us in just a little while, Mr. Chris Botta from Hockey Press Pass. So big thanks to him for coming out. Christian Arnold, how are you?
I mean, how can life be bad? I got a barn rocker over here.
There you
I got
go.
you next to me to do the podcast. We're on R.J. Daniels.
It's a nice
pretty
little Friday
good
night here.
It's a pretty good Friday night. And
Nice
the Islanders are about an hour away from beating the New York Rangers. So it's all lining up.
Wow, I love the spirit. Fantastic. So yes, thanks a lot for coming out to R.J. Daniels. Thanks for tuning in on twitch.tv/Hockey Night NY. So the Isles had a home-and-home with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
They did.
And they were rather successful in that
Sort of.
endeavor. 1-1 in Columbus, 1-1 at home.
I'll call that
2
successful.
wins.
Sure,
Yeah,
okay.
I think so. 2 wins, right? So,
Yeah.
What do you say, CA?
I say, yeah, successful. I mean, the game last night especially was the absolute performance you were hoping for from the New York Islanders. I mean, you know, to come out there and back up that game in Columbus with another almost more surefire win there with the kind of able to kind of bear down late in the game and come away with a win. I mean, it's a pretty good home and home with the Columbus Blue Jackets, if you ask me. And I'm sure you had a fun time. I know you invited me to the game. I couldn't make it. But
I did. You turned me down like the jerk that you are.
Listen, you know, I
You're
got a
covering
job.
basketball, weren't you?
I gotta be a basketball game. So what can I say?
That's all right. I found somebody. It's cool.
Good, I'm
I brought
glad.
Tim. He was actually a much better time than you would have been, so it was fine.
What, you don't enjoy my presence when we go to Islander games
Every
now
now
that
and
we do this more often?
Every now and then.
Every now and then. I think we've gone to like the last 4 home games together.
We've gone to a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
been
a
a
budding
while.
friendship. It's really coming along.
It's lost to
Anyway,
me.
so let's talk some more Islanders. That's why we're here. Obviously, we're getting down to the end of the season, and they're on the outside looking. And I think the last time I looked, 15 points out of a playoff spot. I think still 2 or 3 games in hand on the Capitals, but they're pretty much on the outside looking in here. Unless they go on some kind of miracle run here, it's over. So that's you just you got to take solace in the wins over the Rangers and stuff like that. So
Listen, like you want to end the season on a high note. You want to see the Islanders beat teams like Columbus. You want to see the Islanders go up and kind of finish strong. So performances like this are positive notes. And of course, you're getting to see some of the excitement with the Oliver Wahlstrom, Matt V. Barzal line being able to go out there and contribute. Barzal having a big week, a couple games, pair of games there.
Right.
It's only been 2 games since our last show. So a big two games for him. I think he had somewhere around like 5 points in the 2 games or something like that. And
Yeah, he had a good week.
He's having a big week. And Semyon Varlamov getting a couple of starts consecutively here because of the injury to Ilya Sorokin, which is still a little bit shrouded in mystery, but
I was just about to say that.
shrouded in mystery. I don't know. I mean, it's the Islanders. At this point,
I think everybody's
plenty
kind of
close
just
to
come
that.
to terms with the fact that it's an unannounced concussion.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you look back at everything that happened in the game he was allegedly hurt in. all of that sort of lines up, right? He takes the 2 shots up high and exits the game after, I think it was the second period, if I'm not mistaken, or was it the first period?
He didn't come out for the third.
So it was the second period. So it doesn't come out for the third after taking a couple shots up high. I would imagine that's the case, and I would also imagine the Islanders are probably playing it cautious because at this point in the year, things are not as dire as they would be maybe a couple months ago.
If they manage to find a way to rattle off another 5 to 10 wins here, then maybe you rush him back for the exciting close to the season. But you got to get there first. But yeah, like you said, I mean, if he's any bit still feeling the ill effects, let the guy rest. You got Schneider up to back up Varlamov. I mean, just keep him out, let him rest. I mean, same thing with Clutterbuck, and we know Clutterbuck's gonna be out anyway because of the surgery, but they were saying Mayfield might be able to come back. Let him sit too.
That's the thing. Like at this point in the year, like you have the Ahos and the Grant Huttons and the Robin Salos.
Right.
This is the time to give them that opportunity. We're now on April 1st. Happy April Fool's Day, by the way. We're now on April 1st.
Did you play any pranks on your friends today?
No, I actually someone played a pretty good prank on me this morning.
Oh, yeah?
I was also half awake when they sent this text, so I wasn't fully cognizant.
Okay.
But at this point in the year, why are you going to risk guys that are going to mean something to the organization next year? And not to say that Wahlstrom, or not to say that Aho or any of those guys don't, but this is the time to kind of give them the opportunity to go out there and play when there's nothing really on the line, and you can sort of see what you have in the bag there.
Yeah, and they called up Robin Salo on an emergency basis. He didn't get in last night. I'm curious to see. I didn't see anything about the lineups today, but I wonder if he might get a go or if they're just literally keeping him up for that emergency purposes in case somebody else gets hurt. But, at least you're getting to see a little more Aho. I think these are just counting down the final days of his career as an Islander. As we talked about last show, he's going to be a free agent this summer. I think they're going to let him walk. Maybe he gets an AHL contract. We'll see. I do like what I see from Grant Hutton. We talked about that in the last episode too. I think
Solid player.
Yeah, I think he's acclimated himself pretty well. I'm not sure what the long-term plans are for him, but it was nice to see him get in a couple games and look pretty comfortable out there. Aho, it's funny. You see a flash of brilliance like last night where he had that really nice goal, and also that freakish coincidence, right? You saw that.
Yes.
The Sebastian Aho of the Carolina Hurricanes.
That's basically what everyone's been asking for since both Ahos made their name in the league a couple of years ago. That these guys go out and kind of have big nights or big games against each other, and sort of that Aho on Aho matchup. But they get it in games that are happening at the same time. Very wacky, though.
It was a minute apart.
You could not try to script that if you wanted to.
I'm telling you, man.
It was a cool thing.
Loki screwed up the timelines, man. You got also, 2 Sebastian Ahos scoring goals.
Notice where the Islander seasons are when we're Aho and Aho scoring goals in different games. Very exciting stuff.
Right, that's about where we are here as we hit April Fool's Day. Yeah. So, Islanders find themselves in 9th place now, forever that's worth. Less balls in the draft lottery. So, kind of a double-edged sword there. It's nice that they're playing better. They're going up in the standings, but they're kind of losing that draft, value, if you will. But
it's
they're
also
playing for pride.
A crappy draft year, and if you're finding a year where you're gonna kind of have this weird anomaly of a season happen, not the worst year to have it when you know that the draft class is not as deep as maybe other years might be or they have been in the past. So it'll give the Islanders a little bit of an opportunity to kind of retool and figure out what they're trying to do. And notice how I'm being very positive right now after.
I'm impressed. You must have gotten a good sleep last night.
I did. I don't think I got out of bed till
You're usually not
2.
this cheerful, and usually you have some pretty bad things. We're 8 minutes into the show, and I feel like this is the most positive you've been in the history of the show.
That's not true.
I don't know, man.
When they were making the run in the playoffs last year, I was positive.
Well, you had no choice but to be positive.
That's not true. That's true. I liked what I saw. Just this year, I didn't like what I saw. A lot of it, I didn't like what I saw.
It was a tough go to start out.
I didn't like the fact that so many people are willing to give the Islanders sort of a mea culpa, if you will, or a mulligan.
Well, what could have been, right? With the way that they've been playing lately, you look at that start to the season, and the funny thing is, they'd be right in the thick of it. And I saw somebody, I can't credit them because I forget, but I saw somebody point it out on Twitter.
So I'm just going to steal it from my own idea.
Yeah, well, at least I'm saying somebody threw it out there, right?
Somebody said it, but I'm stealing it.
But they have the same amount of regulation wins as the Capitals. So if they just perform better in the shootout and overtime, they probably would be right there with them. But they've had a dreadful season on the shootout. And I think they might have only won 1 or 2 games in overtime. And this is one of those instances.
Actually, the Islanders have more regulation wins.
Is that right? Oh, and maybe after the win last night.
Or no, it's tied. I'm sorry. Excuse me. It's tied. I was looking
got me all excited.
I was looking at Columbus. I do have the standings up, but they each have 28 wins, regulation wins this season.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Same amount of regulation wins, and they're double digits points behind.
And they only have 4 regulation or overtime wins less than the Capitals, too.
Yeah. So, we talked about probably a couple episodes ago when they started performing better, started playing better. Is it because the pressure's off, or did they finally find their stride?
Yes.
And I was thinking more on that. And I think that, maybe in those seasons where they weren't so good in the 90s, Chris can probably attest to that, but they would turn it on when they were out of it, right? Like they would
Even
be out of the
mid 2000s, we saw the same thing.
Seasons like that where they'd be out of the playoff mix and you'd be like, the pressure's off, that's why they're performing better. But I think it's different this time because those teams kind of didn't have a reputation for being good. That's
you know
what I mean? Like they were known for being poor teams. They weren't expected to win any games. This team was. So I think this is more of a team playing for pride, trying to get their stride back. And, as Matt Barzal, he gave a great quote. He's already looking ahead to next year. They're trying their best to climb back in it this year. But, he's got his eyes on the prize. He's thinking Stanley Cup next year already, which is good to hear from your superstar and one of the leaders on your team. So, I don't know, rethinking, I don't know if it's just the pressure's off. I think this is maybe just a better representation of the team that we thought we might have gotten when the season started.
Yeah, I think it's sort of what I said the other week with the Clutterbuck situation, right? Like two things can be true at the same time. I think the Islanders are playing better because there is less pressure, but I also think you're starting to see more of that cohesion because the Islanders team that we saw at the end of last year is finally on the ice more consistently than the team we saw for most of this year, to be honest, right? Mm-hmm. Between the injuries, between COVID, between everything that's been going on with the organization, it has been tough, in fairness to the Islanders, to kind of put that cohesive lineup there out I was about to say out on the court, but out on the ice.
It's already happening.
Unbelievable. It's the same story with the Nets. But with the Islanders, you really look at the season, and it's been such a wacky year with everything that's gone on, and you have to, I will say, you have to give some of it some credence, but I don't necessarily, where my drift is, I guess, from some people, is I don't necessarily give them the complete pass because they had a 13-game road trip, because they had guys with COVID. Everybody had COVID. Every team in this league at some point had to deal with COVID, right?
Yeah.
Every team had to deal with, the Penguins had to deal with, the San Jose Sharks had to deal with. All those teams managed to not go through as much regression as the Islanders did during that period. Whether that's a testament or sort of an indictment on the depth of the organization or the preparedness of the organization, that's, I think, sort of a conversation that we're going to have during the summer months when we look at what Lou Lamoriello is doing with the team going forward. But I think in this scenario, though, two things can be true at the same time. Like, there was not great planning. I think that there were some mistakes.
There wasn't great planning?
Not great planning. They did not think to go to R.J. Daniels. But there's also the fact that, now they're playing a little bit better because they have that more consistent lineup on the ice, but there's also the pressure's gone. So I think it's a little bit of both right now going on.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Split in the
can
middle.
feel that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out to RJ Daniels here in Rockville Center. How are we doing out there? Wow. Wow. We got one guy.
They're
Eric,
very
you're
depressed.
my man. Thanks for being here, brother. Well, Drive for Five is in the house. I want to say hello to you guys. What's going on here? And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Chris Botta of Hockey Press Pass is going to step right up and join us here. We're going to have a great time. We'll be right back.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game?
Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
From the Coliseum to UBS Arena, we're still rocking the barn.
We made a product based on something that we're big fans of.
You're going to rock the barn, you're going to have a barn rocker.
Oyster Bay Brewing Company's Barn Rocker, available at UBS Arena and everywhere beer is sold.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
A nice break. Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy with Seany and C. Arnold on Hockey Night in New York.
Well, welcome back to Hockey Night in New York, live from RJ Daniels in Rockville Center. Sean Cuthbert, Christian Arnold with you as always. And now, technically it is on the line, but brought to you by our friends over at Tide Technology.
Very close on the line. Yeah.
Yes, but with us here in the building is Chris Botta from Hockey Press Pass. The great Chris Botta has covered the Islanders, was the PR man there for a long time, as well as covering the team for the New York Times, SNY, Islanders Point Blank, and a number of other outlets. AOL Fan House as well, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day when that was...
You are not mistaken.
I remember reading
forgot
all
about
of
it, but
this.
you are not mistaken.
So it's funny. The last time we had you on, Chris, I was. Where was I for that game?
You were not here. It was
why
a great
was
night.
I not here? I was not here for that game. Apparently, I forget why I wasn't
Tony
here.
Stabile was here.
Tony Stabile was here. But I was excited to have you on, and I think I was remiss in not mentioning this the last time we had you on. Before that, when I was here, it was funny. I always tell this story about how I ended up getting into sports journalism, covering the Islanders, actually because of Chris Botta and Islanders Point Blank, which I remember reading every day in high school because I think in the last period of class I had.
Because you're an Islander fan.
When I was enjoying the team from a fan perspective, yeah, sure.
Oh, okay, all right.
It was
just want to let the record show.
Reading Chris Botta's work. So, Chris, I've never actually gotten the chance to say thank you. So, thank you for getting me on the path that I am now and where I am, because I wouldn't have been there if I didn't read your stuff.
Honestly, Christian, it's really nice to hear, and I appreciate it very much. You've done a great job. You've moved on to a less popular sport now, and a less popular league, and a less popular team that doesn't have any culture-changing moments, like guys not being vaccinated. So
right, no, nothing like that.
I'm sorry that things have gone that way for you, but you peaked at the Doug Waite.
That's right.
Season, right.
That's right.
Fantastic.
I got to see that, a new building, and two deep playoff runs. That's pretty exciting. No. But Chris, certainly a lot to talk about now with the Islanders, considering where they are going forward with the organization, because it's kind of a very bizarre season with everything that's happened leading up to this point. Now, with the last month of the year, we're trying to sort of spending the time evaluating what this team has now and what to make of everything. And when you look at this season, what do you make of it all, and how do you try and figure out where to go from here?
What I make of it is, that's sports, and that's life, and that's baseball, Susan. Like everything that you would have hoped for with the new arena, with the team being picked to win the Stanley Cup by people other than us. People who've been around us. They were a team to beat in a lot of people's eyes, and that just would have been too bleeping easy, right?
That's fair.
And that's just not how it works. So maybe it's next year. Wait till next year, but. And of course, there's COVID and there's the road trip. What's amazing, guys, is that I think about on my little version of the Islander podcast I do. We had a moment in early January where we said they have these 11 or so games in a row at home. And if they could just, get to 8-3, 7-4, they make their run. And everybody was telling me we're crazy, we're nuts, they're out of it. And now we're sitting here, and there's still people with hope.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of Islanders country. That's the beauty of being a fan, of doing the things that we do. And it's one of those things where somebody decided it wasn't meant to be. But that said, with the right moves, some tweaks, I agree, not a blow up. We could be back here with a much stronger season a year from now.
I agree with you, Chris. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe after the trade deadline, you expressed a little bit of disappointment in the team for maybe not making any moves. So maybe you could just expand on that. Let us know what you might have been hoping that they would do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying just because you're a seller or you're not in the playoff race or you're very far out of it that you should sell. And it seems like I'm in the minority, especially when it comes to guys like Zach Parise. I understand Zdeno Chara was not going to be traded. I think, and on this one I know some people agree, that the time to trade Varlamov might have actually been even after last season, but the time to trade him was now. That said, it's very possible that Lou Lamoriello didn't get offered anything more than a second-round pick, perhaps plus another asset, and I could understand not wanting to do that. Let me get ahead of this right now and say the fact that Ilya Sorokin is injured right now does not change my opinion. Goalies get injured. That's not the point. You're not replacing Varlamov with nobody. You're not replacing Varlamov with Cuthbert. You're replacing him with somebody who I'm sure the Islanders' 7 goaltending coaches have an opinion on, and I'm sure they have people in mind. I think Lou Lamoriello has some trades that the bones have been started to be put together with teams. Doesn't mean they automatically get done in the summer, but I believe some of the work was done. So sure, we can quibble. How can they not trade Clutterbuck? We later learned possibly, or why, because he's injured, and other guys. But you're going to see trades, and bless Lou Lamoriello. He came out and was very candid in his post-trade deadline remarks. Not only have I never seen him do that in all my years of following him, but even most GMs, and I really appreciated that. I think you're going to see some business conducted done in the offseason.
It's certainly interesting to hear that, because Lou Lamoriello, I think, is famous for the fact that he just never, he'll speak for 20 minutes and he'll say nothing in the span of 20. It's an art form, really, and you almost have to be impressed by it. But when you look at the rest of the season here, I mean, we've got about a month left here for the Islanders season. What are you looking to see out of this team, and sort of little developments or guys battling for positions? I know it feels like forever since we actually talked about that, but now you have sort of that reality where you have guys battling for jobs and trying to make an impact. What do you expect out of this team down the stretch?
The same that I think most fans want to see. I'd like to, if this is it for Zdeno Chara in the NHL or with the Islanders, of course, we'd like to see that last game. If it turns out, and I know he's not a ceremonial guy, I'm not sure he will say this is it for him and therefore have a last game if that's the case. If he does, I'm going right on wherever I got to go to get tickets, and I'm going to that game. I'd like to see the same thing for Andy Green, whether this is his last time. But do they have to play every game? It seems unnecessary. So I'm glad that Trotz seems to have come around on Salo. A couple weeks ago, he candidly said he hasn't been playing that good. That's why he's not here. Now he says that he is. He's being a little more delicate with his words with Wallstrom. You want to see the younger players do their part, and I suspect they will. I mean, they're going to finish 9th in the conference.
Oh yeah, 100%.
No matter
Absolutely.
what happens with Sorokin or maybe some other guys sitting to be careful, this is a team destined probably to finish 9th.
Talking with Chris Botta here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tie Technology. Chris, I would be remiss if I didn't ask. You mentioned Zdeno Chara, and obviously during your time not only covering the team but working for the organization, you've been around Zdeno Chara since the start of his career. And I think Sean and I have heard some stories about what Zdeno is like off the ice. But what can you tell us about your experience, with Zdeno Chara? And are there any funny stories that you're okay sharing with that people may not have imagined would have done, especially in his early years here?
No, they're all okay sharing with him, because Zdeno Chara is a PG, at worst a PG-13 kind of guy. His first season, the first time that I realized you're dealing with somebody that's different in a spectacular way, I'll give you two, one about his training and one about his kindness. And it's important to note this is not a rookie thing, it's what he is and is to this day. I was coming back to my office at the Coliseum from practice. Zdeno was sitting at this table in our little cruddy reception area at the Coliseum, and people were stuffing envelopes, and he was stuffing them too. What was he doing? season ticket invoices were going out or second half invoices were going out. And this is back in the day where you mailed them and you folded them and you put them in an envelope. Sure, we probably had a machine around or two, even us Islanders of that era. But he went in to get his mail, another thing you did back then, and he saw people from different departments all chipping in to get this mailing done, and he pulled up a table and did it. Wow. The other one that I'll tell, and please just cut me off if you've heard this 20 times about the stationary bike.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, yeah.
So at Lake Placid, I'm going to guess it's probably his second season. Might even been the one, remember, you guys are pretty young, but we had a thing where Charles Wong declared that if you don't sign your contract,
remember that.
And he was one of them.
That's right.
Chara and Isviter. It's amazing to think that Zdeno Chara, who's had this Hall of Fame career, legitimately came very close to not playing that season. But what happened, and this wasn't my story, but what happened was the players all rallied around. They asked Charles and Sanjay Kumar to fly to Lake Placid, and they confronted him and said, we need it. I think it was Isbister and Zdeno. We need it back. Really quickly, after a typical day of practice early in training camp, Garrett Timms, the trainer, calls me over to the stationary bike, says, Chris, get on the bike. I'm 20 years younger, or a little bit more than I was then. I was reasonably fit. I wasn't terribly fit. I wanted to just give this some context. And he said, okay, go. And I could barely move the pedals. Like I had to really push and put my foot on the floor. Like I'm not exaggerating with time. There's probably tape somewhere or a blog post or somewhere of me telling this story soon after it happened. I'm not embellishing. And Garrett Timms said, Zdeno Chara, after 2 hours on ice, did that for 30 minutes at X peak, blah, blah, whatever the thing was. Wow. I'm telling you guys, you would have thought the freaking brake was on this thing. Wow.
Wow.
So that's the fitness, that's the kindness. He's the greatest.
Certainly give you credit, Chris, for jumping on the bike and trying it, because I think I can speak for myself. I don't want to indict Sean too much, but I know I would have been like, nah, I'm good. And I wouldn't even try at that point. It would have been embarrassing.
Sounds about right.
I almost hurt myself when I first tried. The thing didn't move. It was, and I'll never forget it. And it's in a league where we talk about this guy being a great guy and this guy, and Pat LaFontaine, listen, is one of the greatest gentlemen of all time, right? We're doing this, you guys are doing this for Companions in Courage today. There's different levels, but Zdeno, he just never changed, and he was like that from the beginning. So it's not a surprise that he's had the career that he's had.
Certainly, he's been someone that's been known to kind of help younger players along. There's a lot of people who credit Charlie McAvoy's career where he is now with obviously playing alongside Zdeno Chara for so many years up in Boston. When you look at a guy like Noah Dobson and maybe even Asalo, when we're talking about this, how much do you think he's brought to the table for those guys? And when we look at next year, and there are some people who still believe he should come back, and maybe even an Andy Green come back and kind of continue to help develop those guys. What is it about them that make them so special that they can come in here and have such impacts on guys that now are, household names in the league?
Yeah, you have to be a good communicator, and there is no doubt that Zdeno has been great for Noah Dobson. That said, you eventually need better players on the ice, and Z would tell you that too. So, but while he's here, he had his struggles, especially in the first half of the year. A lot of people have pointed out that he's playing better. And by the way, it's another great testament to what the person and the athlete that he is, that he had this season where he really struggled. He noticeably struggled to everybody's eyes. Yeah. And the data, plus minus aside, the data wasn't great too. And yet, he didn't let it break him. And he didn't quit mid-season, which guys have done, understandably, and said, I can't do this, I can't help this team. But he just went back and just kept on going back to work. And in a year that didn't go as we drew it up, I have as much respect for what he's done as ever before. He has been a huge help to those guys. Is he somebody, if he wants to make his home either in this area, I don't know what his family plans are, what he wants to do, if he's going to go back home, but he is somebody who would be great to have around. You know, it kind of became almost a meme, this picture of him with his arm around Noah the other night. I'm not particularly good at this thing, but everybody had like their thing, whoa, Milbury did this, and you know, what he might have been saying. What I started to draft in my head was something like, you know, from Barry Richter to this guy. I was going to drop the names of like a bunch of defensemen that he
Kevin
played
Haller.
with, and say, I got to tell you, Noah, you're the best, or something like that. That would have been my attempt at it.
That's funny, Chris. Well, to focus a little bit more on tonight, the Islanders are playing the Rangers. No matter where they are in the standings, it's always a big game for the fans. So what I wanted to ask you, being around the team, work with the team, is it the same thing in the locker room with the players? When they see the Rangers on the calendar, do they have a little more pep in their step, looking forward to those sorts of games?
There's just no question, and that's never changed, and that's okay. I know sometimes people are defensive about it, like, oh, these games mean more to the Islanders and the Rangers. Well, what I used to say when I worked there and then in my blog days too, after the Islanders would like sweep the Garden floor with the Rangers' asses, I would sometimes say, well, maybe like it should have meant more to the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, so I don't think, I will say in defense of the Rangers of the last few years, as they got younger and hungrier and they struggled. The Islanders of the last couple of years have been a benchmark for them. We might have discussed this. Those games last year, I'm telling you guys, I worked there for 2 years, not for the Rangers, but for the company.
Right.
Those 2 games that they played the Rangers had a bigger impact on Jim Dolan's decision to clear house than the Tom Wilson game. I get the Tom Wilson game. I get that. I think, but like if you go back and watch the Rangers, they weren't even in the game. They were just manhandled. And so that's cool. So Gerard Glenn comes in. It reminds me a little bit of them getting Keenan in '94 after we had a good run in '93, and the Garden figures, the Rangers figure, we can't stand this shit anymore. The idea that the Rangers don't think about the Islanders is silly. To go back to your question, it does mean more. It feels good. That train ride, which sucks in general, right, is great. It's like you're on a cruise when you take that train home after the Islanders win that game. Last thing I'll leave you with is on my podcast recently we told a story about Tommy Soderstrom's chest protector getting stolen after he shut out the Rangers. There's no doubt in my mind that happened because we had so many people after that relatively meaningless win in the Garden walking around the locker room and somebody swiped it on him. So, but it does mean a lot, and I'm sure it does tonight. But the Rangers better be ready, or they're going to get a repeat of what happened a couple weeks ago.
Talking with Chris Botta here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. And Chris, again, I just want to go back, as someone who's had the front row seat to Islanders history and Islanders hockey over the for such a long time, when we look at the Islanders and Rangers and sort of those moments that stand out to fans, for you, what is an Islander-Ranger game that stood out to you for a crazy thing that happened on the ice, a crazy thing that happened off the ice that you kind of saw firsthand, and you saw the mayhem that it caused, you know, afterwards, having to deal with the media and kind of the whatever came after that?
One immediate happy memory is Pierre Turgeon getting his 50th goal in overtime that put us over the top for a good run. As for a crazy story, I might have to pull a punch or two here. We had a game, and Eric Cairns is now on our team. I'm just going through it in my head. Manny Malhotra's on their team. Darren Langdon's on their team. The guy, they had a defender who was a born-again Christian who didn't fight, but we didn't know that at the time. And that became controversial. Well, late in this game, there wound up being a brawl, just the guys on the ice. And the Islanders had got the better end of it. I think the matchups were probably a little more in our favor. And to Eric Cairns' credit, who he had only just recently come from them, he took it easier. You know, you do the thing where you're holding on to Manny and you hit him once in a while, but then you just kind of push him. But it wasn't that ugly. But as the Islanders came off the ice, the guys getting kicked out of the game, and the Rangers came off the ice, at the Garden, there's just a curtain. You've been down there? I think maybe it's changed
a lot since the renovation.
Okay. That is true, and I was there when that. But it used to be literally just as like this curtain. The teams would go off the ice, the Rangers would go to the right, the Islanders would go to the left. And when Cairns came off the ice, I heard a voice. I wasn't hearing voices. Somebody yelled, "Cairns, you bleeping bleep, you were always a bleeping bleep." Wow. Ticking on, I think it was Manny Malhotra or somebody else, blah, 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 blah. And it didn't sound like a hockey play. And I was like, I know that voice. What's going on here? And I walk into the locker room, and Cairns is like starting to take his gear off. And he goes, "Bots," and I'm not going to say the guy's name, but he goes, "Bots, was that X?" And I go, "Oh my God, that was X." And it was just a staffer on the team.
Wow.
It wasn't a coach, wasn't even a trainer, it wasn't a player. It was just a staffer yelling through the curtain, calling Eric 6'6" Cairns names. So I take a little bit of a breath, and I now go over to the other side where the curtains are, and this gentleman's not there, but some of his colleagues are there, and we're all kind of friends. We had our moments. This was the biggest one, and I'm like, "Where is he? Where is he?" And I'm not trying to pretend like I was going to fight the guy, but they were like, "He left. He felt so bad. He lost his mind. Can you forgive him? Blah blah blah." And I mean, that's how crazy it got. Wow. I walked by Dale Hunter after he hit Pierre Turgeon, and yes, tough guy me thinks, "Oh boy, I should have, thrown an elbow or something like that." I kept my cool. But this guy who means well, who bleeds Ranger blue, he lost his mind. And like a half an hour later, he came to me and he said, "Is Cairns still around? I need to talk to him. I want to apologize." And I actually let this Ranger employee into our locker room so he could basically almost kiss the ring and be like, "Cairnsy, and Eric handled it really well." Wow. True story, guys.
That's incredible.
How about that?
That is awesome.
Yeah, for talking trash with Eric Cairns.
I love that.
Well, at least he circled back and did the right thing, I suppose.
Well, because I knew. I figured if I run into this guy in the parking lot, he's going to beat the crap out of me.
Probably just self-preservation.
I've seen Eric Cairns now, and he can still probably throw a good right hook.
Oh, yeah.
That shows how this thing can get under your skin and how much people can.
Oh, no question about it. And just to bring it back to the current Islander squad, obviously, again, with your history with the team, there's been some stars that have come in and out of the franchise. You go back to Pat LaFontaine, and then maybe the mantle's passed on to Pierre Turgeon. Then you get to maybe Ziggy Palffy and John Tavares. Sorry to say the name. Obviously, him as well. And Matt Barzal now has kind of taken over there. Where do you think he stands as far as the leaders and stars go of this team? And, some people give him a little hard time this year. He has somewhat of a down year. He's not putting up the amount of points that he typically would. Do you consider him, in that upper echelon of players? And just what do you like out of his game since he's been with the Islanders?
The thing about Barzal is I want to buy a ticket to see him. I remember seeing him at the Barclays Center because they were playing Edmonton, and I was just like, I want to see that. And there aren't many players in the game, I would say that, across the board. He has flair. He's a good-looking guy. Seems like a gentleman. He seems like he's great with fans. The speed is just, off the charts. So I put him in that category. I'm concerned that it's going to be an ongoing narrative as to, we never found him a winger. Pat LaFontaine had that a little bit too. Oh yeah.
They used to say that about Yashin too.
What was that?
They used to say that about Yashin too.
Yeah, and they might not ever find the perfect guy for him. I've asked people who've come on my show, what, including Rob Schremp, what would be the right winger for him or wingers for him. And I don't know if that's ever going to be solved. I will say that if they could do that this season, there's something to be said for just getting that big scorer. And if it doesn't work with him, that's okay. You still got the guy, and he'll be good with the other two centers you have, three. I mean, they're strong down the middle. But you'd like to see them make that one attempt, because I don't want it to be a narrative for Matt's career or even for this incoming player's career that they got to make this work. Well, again, going back to the original theme here, that's not always how it works. If things work so splendidly, the Vegas Golden Knights wouldn't have lost a game since they made their trades, right? The Ducks would have won the Stanley Cup. Everybody was handing them the Stanley Cup the year that Seany and Korea.
Right.
Everybody else was playing for second place. Yeah? No.
Right.
They didn't even come in second place. So he's just a fantastic player, charismatic guy, sells tickets. And I'm excited about the future for him. I don't get caught up in his points, dare I say it, any more than I don't get caught up in the fact that some guys are really kicking ass over the last one. What's going to matter is October, November, and December of 2022.
Absolutely.
No, 100%. I agree with that. Chris, I know we're about 20 minutes here from puck drop. You're more than welcome to stick around as we continue to roll through the show.
I need to be here. If you're doing Hero of the Week,
we're doing Hero
of the Week. And all the other sponsored elements, I got my barn.
All right.
Chris got the memo, which I like. Sean's the only one who didn't get the memo, apparently, here. Doesn't have a barn rocker, doesn't have a sponsored T-shirt on. I mean,
I'm just going to let you guys.
It's like you hate the people that pay our bills.
I'm going to get out of here.
I mean, come on, Sean. I mean, we got to represent
Rob Lowe wore the NFL
hat. Yes, that's right.
He's wearing his NHL T-shirt.
That's right.
Sean, do you understand that reference or no? Sean's very inept when it comes to other sports.
Inept is probably the right word.
He doesn't get any of them yet.
It's hockey or bust for me. Hockey or bust.
Rob wore a NFL cap.
He
obviously was sitting in NFL seats. And everyone's like, ooh, Rob Lowe, he's just a good NFL fan. It was lame.
He's the guy that shows up and roots for the refs.
Yes.
The
Okay.
guy that shows up and roots for the refs.
Okay. All right. Well, I like hockey. What can I tell you?
The sound effects. Let's go, boy.
You ready to go for What's on Tap, buddy?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Live from RJ Daniels. We don't even need the backdrop this time.
And now, it's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
It's busy making fun of you.
It's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by the great RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill, right here in Rockville Center. So, Christian, when you're ready, what do we got on tap for the New York Islanders?
Yes, well, the New York Islanders are going to play hockey. Problem we have right now is the schedule is not loading on my computer.
Oh here we go. There you go.
There we go. So as I was saying, live from RJ Daniels. No, that's what I get for making fun of you for like 5 minutes and really putting my foot in my mouth.
That's what they call karma.
By the way, show brought to you by RJ Daniels, where we're at right now. But the Islanders, they have the New York Rangers, of course, tonight in about 20 minutes. Then they have a showdown with the New Jersey Devils also.
Hitting the road.
Out of the play. Well, I mean, is it really on the road?
Well, if you look ahead, you'll see.
Yes, a trip to Newark, then followed by a trip to Dallas. Much nicer than Newark. It's a place to face the Dallas Stars. And then a busy weekend. We were talking about this last week, Sean, how the Islanders basically have a back-to-back every week for the rest of the season here.
Right.
At some point during the week, and that comes...
I think that's their last 2-day break, that Wednesday, Thursday there. I think that might be their last Tuesday. No, I'm wrong. There's another one right there. But even still, they're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time.
They have Carolina down in Raleigh, and then followed by St. Louis on Saturday night. So Friday in Raleigh and a Saturday night in St. Louis. Actually not a bad way to spend your weekend.
Sure.
So very nice cities. I've heard good things.
Tonight kicks off a 5-game road trip of sorts, if you consider Madison Square Garden and the Prudential Center the road. Just up the road a piece.
Well, they're not UBS Arena. So.
Well, let me ask you guys this: if they somehow pull off a 5-0 road trip here,
yes.
I mean, you bring the hope back in?
No.
You bring the hope back in?
If they go 5-0? Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd want to know what Washington did. I mean, the only thing you want to do right now, and they would probably deny it, but there's a Barry Trotz Washington. There's some fun stuff here, right? Like they have stunk since they got rid of him. They had to get Peter in to try to fix things, Peter Laviolette. And he has looked good since, but maybe not this year. But there's only 2 teams standing, realistically, Washington and the Islanders. And I get it, the Islanders need a whole bunch of things to happen. But here's the thing, don't get caught up in trying to make up those 15 points. Get caught up in, can they get to a point just where when they play those games against the Capitals,
they might be.
After warm-ups, those guys have got to go to the bathroom a little bit. Like, they're nervous.
Right.
Washington's thinking, that's all you want to do.
Sure.
You want them at 6:45 to have to go to the bathroom after warm-up. Because they're thinking, the Islanders are 7 back. I'm making this right? With 4 games to go. Again, making this up. I don't know how to say that.
Sure.
But that is not actually, do I think they're going to catch them? No.
Right.
Do I think that could happen? And that would be fun.
Yes. Make it interesting.
Fun. And I think that's I get it. Newsday can't do a chart that says what can the Islanders do to get it to the point where Washington's nervous or the NHL. But that's what you want to look at. So they're not going to win all 5. But they could win 3 or 4 and cut into Washington a little bit. Because Washington, I'm not sure about them. They might put their way into they've had a long break now between games.
Right.
Let's see how they come back.
Yeah.
Now, just to go down this rabbit hole, I did pull up the Washington Capitals schedule, and we'll look at the next week ahead. They will play, since we do what's on tap.
Sure.
The Capitals, they play the Minnesota Wild, which is one of the top teams in the Western Conference, followed by the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday, and then they finish up next week with a game against the Boston Bruins. All tough games, I will say that. Certainly you could see them. I mean, that's a tough schedule. I mean, if we're really playing into this narrative, and I'm gonna go with it, I guess.
Why not?
You know,
Why not?
I could see them losing to Tampa. I could see them losing against Minnesota, and maybe Boston. I think they beat Pittsburgh.
I mean, win your own games, right? If you're the Islanders, right? They take the little steps just to keep it alive and have that mean something. So Washington, they do have it tough. The problem is eventually you're just going to run out of games. It's no longer we're so many points out. It's like, there's only 7 games left in the season. You know what I mean? Like that's when you're going to get to that point. But get to the point where that game means something.
Listen, they also play the Toronto Maple Leafs the following week after that. So I'm sure, Matty March just calls up his good buddy Johnny T and is like, listen, we need you guys on your A game that night.
Hey, they got their own standing to worry about, Toronto. I mean, they're jostling with Boston. They're jostling with
I look
Tampa,
forward to the John Tavares Stanley Cup.
It would be nice, though, Chris. You're right. I mean, you got those 2 games right at the end of the year, and I think the Islanders close out against the Lightning right after that. But you have a home and home there with the Capitals. It would be nice to make it interesting. But let's see. Let's start tonight.
What
with
would
the
be
Rangers
even more amazing, because the Capitals end their season against the Rangers also on a home and home. So they play the Rangers travel to Washington to play the Capitals the last day of the season. The Islanders host the Lightning. Imagine, again, going down this crazy rabbit hole, which is never going to happen. I want to point this out. But imagine it came down to the Islanders needing the Capitals to lose to the New York Rangers, and the Islanders need to beat the Lightning. Imagine the chaos that would create.
It would be strange days. It would be strange days. But
we should say this about Islanders country, because I worked for that team where when they were out of it like this, you could shoot cattle in the Coliseum and not hit a fin, right? I'm not in favor of shooting cattle. But look at this place. We had a table full of people wearing Islander jerseys. We got people packed in here.
Yeah.
You're here to watch this game, and look like they are all Islander fans.
Better be.
Think about you.
Some are Nets fans confused by the fact that I'm here.
Understandably. So you look at UBS for these games recently, the Ottawa game, which was a bit of not a great game, but there was energy in that building.
Yeah.
The seats were generally full.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just because of new arena. People care. It's different now. So they are playing for something. This means something. You had this show, pick it, 10, 12, 15, 24 years ago. Nobody's showing up. Right. I'd have to ask my family to come just to fill a couple of seats.
Right.
Credit to the Islanders and really the fan base as much as anybody.
Absolutely.
100%.
So we're just over 10 minutes until puck drop. So why don't we wrap up what's on tap here? We'll move right into. We'll take a break and we'll go to the hero of the week.
That was What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, folks. I want to thank everybody once again for coming out to the great RJ Daniels here in Rockville Center. How are we doing, RJ Daniels? All right. That's a marked improvement from the first time. Marked improvement. By the time the show's over, we're gonna be even better. But folks, hope you're having a great time out there. We're having a good time up here. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be Hero of the Week. Woo!
Customer service is the backbone of any great business, and reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Thai Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Thai Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another country. You'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Thai Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at thaitechnology.com. That's Thai, T-I-E, technology.com. Thai Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
All right, folks, it is time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels half-price hero, which this week is the Blue Liner with chicken cutlet, bacon, melted American cheese, Russian dressing on a toasted garlic hero. Go to the Huntington Blue Line Deli and Bagels location. Get it for half off all week until next week when we announce a brand new hero. So, without further ado, Christian Arnold, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, wow, what?
Who is your hero?
Totally unprepared for this.
Oh, you want me to go first, buddy? You want me to
No,
bail you out?
I'm being facetious. I know who my hero of the week is. As long as you put the right picture in this week.
I think I did. I think I took care of business.
I don't know. I'm not fully confident, but my hero of the week is Mr. Matthew Barzal for his...
There he is.
Oh, thank God. Dominating performance against the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think, like I said before, I think he had somewhere around 5 points this week between a goal last night.
Sure.
And 3 assists, I think, 4 assists over the last couple games as well. He's been on fire, and certainly... I know Andrew Gross and Newsday wrote there's been some mixed reviews of the Islanders' Barzal, Wallstrom, Parisi line, but I give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up
I
for
give it
Christian
2 thumbs
Arnold.
up.
Yeah. Okay, there you have it. Christian Arnold's Hero of the Week is none other than Matt Barzal. I'll go with mine now.
Did you put the right picture in for that?
I did. I think I'm going to be 2 for 2 here.
Oh,
and I'm giving it to a guy who
doesn't happen often.
Kind of had a rough season. He had some injuries. He dealt with COVID a little bit. But he's taken over the reins with Ilya Sorokin being out. He gets 2 wins in a row here against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he's back between the pipes tonight against the Strangers. Semyon Varlamov, my hero of the week. Yeah,
good choice.
9.33 save percentage Tuesday against the Jackets, 9.38 Thursday last night. So we had a good little 2 days against the Jackets. So there you have it. Chris, would you like to chime in with a hero?
As always, I did last time. This is an easy one. Stan Fischler, happy birthday, 90th birthday.
Very nice.
Not only just an excellent reporter and a great Islander and hockey guy for New York, but somebody who's helped the careers of a lot of people. At a birthday party that was had for him recently, there was a current commissioner of a major sports league at that meeting. At that dinner, there were a lot of writers, a lot of broadcasters. He's a good person who's left an impact, and as long as I've known him, he always rode his bike around New York, and you could see it. The man is still fit. God bless him. Stan Fischler, incredible guy, and happy birthday, Stan. You are my hero of the week.
Well done.
Nice.
Well done.
Alex, that's a great choice.
Absolutely.
I think there was
Showed us up.
I think there was an NHL owner at that party as well, from what I saw. There was a lot of dignitaries at that Stan Fisher bash.
It's incredible, and I know John Ledecky was there, and there are people who I didn't even realize that have come out of the woodwork who said, "Oh no, I interned for Stan for 3 months in 1967 or something like that." They just and I never did. but he's somebody who kind of just became a friend of mine to me as I was a Flyers intern all the way back when Stan was 55 or 60, and he's been good to me ever since, and love him to death. Happy birthday.
I think it's sort of like 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's like 3 degrees of Stan Fischler. When you look at the hockey reporting sphere in New York especially, or even sports sphere, you can trace someone interned for Stan Fischler or knew someone that interned for Stan Fischler at one point in their career.
Last quick one on that. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He's not received the media award. And I get that sometimes that they don't want to go so heavy in the big markets, and a lot of people in the New York area have won. Stan, he deserves to be in there. There's really no argument against it. I know there's some arguments against it. I'm here to tell you there's no freaking argument.
The man is a living legend, the Maven. Happy 90th birthday. May he have 90 more.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the way Stan's going, he might.
He looked great.
Probably have 100
Saw him
more.
up on the screen last night at the game. He looked fantastic. But yes, excellent choice there. Chris, Stan Fischler, Semyon Varlamov, Matt Barzal, your heroes of the week. Remember, go to the Huntington location for Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Get half off the Blue Liner all week, courtesy of the great Blue Line Deli and Bagels. So we're obviously coming up against puck drop here. So Christian, why don't we try to sneak in a question or two for Questions Brewing before we roll out of here?
Do it to it.
It's time for Questions Brewing. Brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing. Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
That's right, folks.
Love Oyster Bay Brewing Company.
Questions Brewing.
Hate the guy that voices that.
Get over it, buddy. saw some showing up in the chat there on Twitch. Thanks a lot for tuning in there live. So, Christian, what do you got for us? Give us some questions.
All right, T. Boyle, 13, Question Brewing. With the Islanders having a lot of cap space, do you see them going after a superstar this summer? To paraphrase Matty Boy, who's at the top of our list.
Superstar would be nice. But A, you got to fit him under the cap, so you might
Are
have
they
to
going
make
after
some
Alex
moves.
Ovechkin or what?
I'm sure Lou is going to aim towards the top, where whoever might be at the top of that list. But you know, the next question is whether or not A, he can land, and B, the guy wants to come and see if the salary works. But I think Lou's going to try to get that winger we were talking about for Matt Barzal if it's possible. You have anything to add there, Chris?
I think they're going to get Jeff Chikrin this offseason.
Like that.
I want to
Like
use
that.
it. He is not a superstar. That the question said superstar?
Yeah, it
there's
said
like
superstar.
3 superstars in the NHL. There's like 3 on the Nets that you cover, or 2. There's like 3 in the NHL. So we should define.
Yeah,
that,
so
right?
I think when we say hockey superstar, I think it's a much narrower scope than when we talk about a
first
superstar.
liner, big time difference maker, somewhat perennial all-star. I think they're going to trade for Chikrin. I think some of the work has been done in there. I believe that's a good possibility. I understand there's a lot of interest in him, and I get it. And then I believe that other player, we don't know who he is right now. Just like Tarasenko seemingly became available. I think we don't know. There's going to be some team that's going to lose in the first round and be pissed and break it all up. And somebody's going to become available. So I know you get these kind of questions a lot, and I do. Well, what would you do, Botta? You got all that. No, it actually isn't my job. It's Mr. Lamoriello's job to do this.
This is true.
But I'm going to say that if they're going to have 2 impact players come in, I think there's a good chance one of them is Jacob Chikrin. Sorry, not Jeff. Jeff played for the Flyers and Hershey when I was an intern there, so I'm constantly calling him Jeff.
We weren't going to correct you.
No.
Jacob Chikrin. No, I've done it on my own thing too, and I don't even have him fix it and edit. And then that other player, if that happens, is going to be a player who we don't know his identity right now.
Interesting. I agree. I think there is a player. Listen, I know I railed last week about how my concern is what the Islanders are going to do in the offseason, and was the Clutterbuck signing a foreshadow of kind of just standing pat and going, it was COVID and we'll give it another shot. My hope is they will. My hope is that you guys are right and they're going to go out and they're making a big splash. But again, I'm coming at it with a more cautious.
Couldn't go a whole show without you being positive through and through. I
got to be true to who I am. I can only.
Last thing on that today is that it's also possible that it's like 1 in the off season and 1 before the trade deadline. If they look like what Lou and Barry think they have, which is a playoff team, maybe not the top contender team, they make that move then. So.
Sneak in one more quick question brewing here. Mike 4652 always reliable, as well as T Boy with some great questions. Since it looks like Sorry, I don't read these as quick as I should. Since it looks like the Islanders will not be winning the big show this year, who are you guys looking to see win it all?
Interesting question.
I actually like that.
I don't know if I'm throwing my support behind anybody specifically. I think we were asked who we thought were going to win the Cup a couple weeks ago.
Who do we want to win it?
Who do we want to see? Oh, obviously the Maple Leafs. No, joking. Definitely not the Leafs. Definitely not the Strangers.
I feel like there's two ways I can go with this.
You know what? I'm going to go with the team I picked to win it, and the Florida Panthers. Let's get them a cup.
I love that answer.
Let's get a cup down south. Let's do it.
All right, Chris, what do you think?
I'd like to see Tampa not win it. I would have liked the Islanders to have the chance to end their streak, because there's going to come a point where people aren't going to like the idea of maybe Tampa winning 3 in a row and then maybe 4 in a row. And then I'm going to go with Colorado, which I understand might be chalk, but they are fun to watch. They've built it the right way. They've done it against some odds in some cases. And they're just a lot of fun to watch. I know goaltending is a question, but I mean, that's a team I'd like to see. Yeah.
I'm really conflicted by saying what I really want to say and what I think I should say.
How about both?
I would love to see the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Cup. I want to see John Tavares win a Stanley Cup.
This is Christian Arnold's final show with Hockey Night in New York.
When you do the video clips for social media, can you please make sure you post that one?
I think that's exactly what we're going to do.
I have long been someone who said that I think the circumstances around when he left were a little weren't necessarily fair to everyone involved, and he's someone that I think deserves to win a championship.
I told you that my disdain for Toronto still goes back to that 2002 series.
Fair. I actually really, but I enjoy. But if you look at the team that they have, like, they're a fun team to watch. Like, Austin Matthews.
Yes.
Also, from the perspective of the league needs to grow, Austin Matthews winning a Stanley Cup needs to happen. If not this year, next year, because
let him win when he goes to the
Coyotes. They need to really take advantage of the fact that ESPN is all in on hockey right now, because that would be huge for the league and growing the brand of the sport.
Austin could win it for another team in the United States, for example.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Listen, I admit, I like watching Toronto. They're fun to watch, partly because they are exciting. They're also a freaking mess. I don't think they're going to win. Somebody pretty good danced around Giordano like he was just standing there last night. It just was another sign to me that it's probably not them. They might have to break that up, and that'll be interesting too. But I get it, and I respect the hell out of you that in a restaurant on Long Island, you said out loud that you want to try to.
I mean,
he's not coming down from the stage for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
I'm going to see Tony here in November.
Yeah, he's going to be my personal bodyguard.
There's a very good likelihood of that. But we're just getting up against puck drop here, so we got to get going. But I want to thank everybody for coming down to RJ Daniels here in Rockville Center. Let's go Isles, playing the Rangers tonight. Huge thanks to Chris Botta of Hockey Press Pass for joining us. Great stuff from him as always. And of course, a huge thanks to our sponsors, RJ Daniels American Bar and Grill, Blue Line Deli and Bagels, Thai Technology, and the great Oyster Bay Brewing Company. Also, folks, told you about it at the top of the show, we got a 50-50 raffle going on, going towards Companions in Courage. We also have an autographed Pat LaFontaine jersey up courtesy of Companions in Courage. So if you buy those raffle tickets, you're in the mix for the 50-50, you're in the mix for the jersey, you're in the mix for RJ Daniels gift cards, Blue Line Deli and Bagels gift cards. We have another $100 gift card. We got a Drive for 5 hoodie here. Lots of stuff. Get involved. We got the tickets going around. And hey, let's go Isles. Let's hear it. All right. My name is Sean Cuthbert for Christian Arnold. We've been Hockey Night in New York. Have a great night.
Bye.